What's going on YouTube, fellow lockpicker enthusiasts? Just a quick video I want to put out about, I guess, cheap picks in general. Not that Sparrows is a cheap set, but I have here, if you can see this, a Masters 570, which I just kind of happened to have on my shed. I didn't buy it intentionally, knowing that it was a free-floating core, or that it came with mainly safety pins in it. I just kind of had it on my shed out of nowhere, and this is what I started practicing on one day, and then I started doing a little more research, found out blah blah blah. So I actually picked this, I don't want to say on accident, but just kind of got lucky on it a couple times. And what I found out was this is obviously a decent set. This is a Sparrows set. I've got a few picks and a bunch of wrenches and stuff in here, but what I actually used on this 570, and really the only thing I've had any kind of success with other than single picking, is this cheap little tool back here. And this is what kind of got me into lock picking, this cheap little tool set here. So the reason is this guy has a little worm on it. So this is a Sparrows worm. And this is the normal Sparrows worm. Hopefully you can see this guy. Great tool. And this is the worm that came on this cheap little guy. Let's get this open for you here. And this is the interesting thing. The profile on these guys, although it's designed to be kind of similar, the profile on the cheaper one on the right is much thinner. And you can see right as it gets up to this last little point here, this last little, the very end of the tool, because it's thinner, this valley is a much larger relation to the very end of it, and that allows you to grab under, I'm sure the king isn't going to be same on every lock, but the king on this one, number 4, is kind of a real tricky pin, and you have a tendency to overset it trying to get to 5. And so oddly enough, with all the picks in this small set that I have, this is just my EDC set, the one that actually works is this cheap one. And I guess I can try to demonstrate for you real quick. Of course, it's not going to work well on camera, but this little guy, I'm almost picking with the rake itself. If you know 570s, you know they're key retaining, and there's no spring tension from the actual cylinder, so the false sets are really hard to recognize. And so I very early on I started just trying to rake this thing. Not a huge amount of luck there. And then I started kind of just doing like a half pick, half rake with this guy, with this little cheap worm. And this is the one that ended up giving me success. A little reversal there. Sorry, I usually do this in hand. I tried to get it up here for you guys. I'm gonna have to end up editing this video down, I imagine. Little bugger. And that's just something a little interesting about the 570, and just kind of about random cheap picks. Just the slightest little change in design or parameters or dimensions can really make all the difference. I can't tell you how much I struggled trying to use this Sparrows worm, or really anything, with the exception of this really fine point medium pick here. This is the one I thought I would do it just because I did it inadvertently with this one originally, but this small little cheapie is the only one I've been able to do successfully and consistently. Don't know if that helps anybody, but I guess the moral is, don't be afraid to shop cheap.